Hi friends, it's Deanna here today, and today we're going to be working on self-drafting this cute little flutter sleeves. Let's get started. All right, we're jumping right in. I am using the ruby blouse like I mentioned, and I am going to grab either my front or back. I usually like to use my back because it's the longer piece, but it really doesn't matter. So I'm just going to grab right here where my arm side is. This is where my sleeve my sleeve is gonna go. So I'm gonna measure this arm side, and we just kind of stand up our measuring tape around it and go all the way, measuring all the way around it. And for mine is 8.5, so 8.5 inches of this measurement right here. And what we're going to do is we're going to times that by 3 because we've got the back and the front, so that's 2, and then I want to add another half, so that's how much I'm going to gather my sleeve, my flutter sleeve. So if you wanted to gather like more than what mine is going to end up like, then you could go times 4, so you'll have a front, a back, and then 2 times the width, but I'm just doing half more of the width. So I'm going the back, the front, and another for the width. So that's times 3. So it's 8.5 times 3 is 22.5. So let's remember that measurement. 22.5 is what the length is going to be. All right, now a lot of times I just like to jump right in and do this right on the fabric, but today we're going to go ahead and use a piece of paper so I can show you how to do the measurements for this flutter sleeve. So the first thing I'm going to tell you is I want to do my flutter sleeve on the fold, so we're going to just call this right here the fold so that we can cut it in half, and then when we open it you'll have the one side and the other side, so then I just have to do like one side of the sleeve. I don't have to do both sides. So then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use my ruler, and since I'm doing it in half, then I really only need half of my measurement. So my width was going to be 25.5, but we're going to cut that in half, and now it's going to be 12.75. So that's what I need. I need 12.75. So first I'm going to make a straight line. And the good thing about using wrapping paper is that some of them already have those inch lines, which is great. So I'm just going at one of those inch lines. So I went a straight line, and this paper is right at 12.75, like right at it. So what I'm going to do is here on this side, I'm going to measure 4 inches. 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, the good thing about this paper is that it has those lines on it, but you can just measure up. And the reason why I'm doing 4 inches on the height, it's 4 inches, is because at the bottom, when I sew my gathers onto my dress, I'm going to lose either a 1/4 inch or a 1/2 inch of allowance, whatever you want to put on there. And then at the top, I'm going to lose another 1/4 inch or a 1/2 inch allowance because I'm going to sew 2 ruffles together so that the ruffle is, it's lined. I don't want a raw ruffle. If you want a raw ruffle, you can go ahead and hem the top, so you'll still lose about a 1/2 inch of hemming over here at the top anyway. So I'm going to lose about a 1/2 inch or to an inch, depending on how much seam allowance. And I want my flutter to be about 3 to 3.5 inches wide at my shoulder, so that's why I'm going with 4 inches. If you want that flutter to be longer, then you can go longer. If you want that flutter to be smaller, you can go smaller. This is up to you how big or small you want that to be. So now I've got my 4 inches here, I've got my 12.75 here. So now all I gotta do is meet this point to this point, and we're just gonna kind of curve over to this point. We're just doing like a little curve. So what I have is this nice curved ruler that helps me to do this. But if you don't have a curved ruler, you don't have to worry about it. You can use anything you want. You can just trace it up. It really does not matter. This is my line right here, my 4. So I'm just gonna come out a little bit so it's like straight at the top, and then I'm gonna come down here, and it just kind of curves down. So now you can see that I've got the straight line, and then I have this curved line coming down, and this is our pattern. We're gonna cut it on the fold, and we'll make 4 of these on the fold because we're gonna grab 2 and we're gonna put, I'll show you later. Let me just cut it and stop talking, and then we'll go over how to finish it up. But that's it, we made our pattern, so easy. All right, so now I've got my fabric, and I placed my pattern here on the fold of my fabric. Here's the fold, and I'm gonna cut this out. Like I said, I'm gonna cut 4 of these. All right, now I've got my 4 pieces. So what I'm going to do for each one, I'm going to grab them. I'm going to place them right side up on my mat. Actually, I'm going to put 2 right side up on my mat. And then I'm going to grab the other 2 and I'm going to place them right sides on top of it. Right sides together. Like so. Now that they're on top of each other, right sides together, I'm going to sew this long straight edge together. All right, and at the edges, at the ends, I'm not going to go straight. I'm going to go in towards the edge because when I turn it, I want this edge to be finished here. So then when I sew it, the sleeves will just barely come close to each other like this at the armpit seam. They won't be on top of each other because I don't like them being on top of each other and flaring out. They're just gonna come like really close to each other. So I want that edge to be finished. So I'm gonna come in and finish this edge here at the corners and all of them. All right, now I'm finished and I'm going to trim all this excess here where the edges are. And then I'm going to flip my sleeve over to the right side. And steam it. Okay, now as you can see, it's my straight edge, my rounded edge is here. So now I'm gonna match up the 2 edges and find my half. Because that's what I'm going to attach to my sleeve, my shoulder cap. And then I'm going to go over to my sewing machine and put in a gathering stitch here at the top. All right, let's go put in that gathering stitch. And here, see how it's a little bit longer? That's okay, I'll just trim that when I go to sew it on. I'm just using a long straight stitch and leaving a tail at the beginning and at the end to gather my sleeve. All right, friends, it's time to attach our sleeve. Here's my shoulder and here's my arm side. This is where my sleeve goes, my front side, my front, my back side. I'm gonna grab my sleeve and here's my middle piece. That's gonna go right there. And we're gonna grab the, you wanna grab your bobbin thread and you're gonna pull on that softly and nicely and you're going to gather this sleeve all the way up. So what I like to do is I like to clip that middle piece right where it's going to go, and I go from one side and gather up until I have this one edge. It's gonna come like right before the seam allowance. So I have like my seam allowance here, so I wanted to come right before so they just kind of match up together, but they're not like on top of each other. And then I'm gonna gather this enough to fit. Now I have more gathers here at the top than I do here at the bottom. It's kind of smoother here because I don't want a ton of gathers right on my armpit. I want most of my flutter to be up here at the top. So that's why I go up a couple of inches and then I start my gathers really nice and gathered up here. And now I'm going to go ahead and pin or clip so that they're attached to the right side of the fabric. And this is what it'll look like when you turn it over. That's gonna be so cute. And then I'm going to do the same exact thing on the other side. That's what it's going to look like. Super cute. I'm going to do the same on the other side. Well, my thread broke, so I'm going to have to go put in another basting stitch and redo that. But while I do that, then we're also just going to go ahead and sew this on. I'm going to sew with my sewing machine first, and then I'm going to go back with my serger and top stitch it. Now, in order for you not to pop stitches like I just did, you can do 2 lines of gathering stitches, but I'm lazy and I don't pop them very easily, just every once in a while. Like that doesn't happen very often. So that's why I just kind of go with the 1 stitch. But 2 stitches is more secure, or you can use other gathering methods, whatever your preferred gathering method is. All right, now I'm gonna serge it together. Make sure when you do that you don't catch any other part of the fabric. All right, so now my sleeve is attached on, as you can see it right there. That's gonna be so cute. So now the last step is just to sew our bodice together here on the side, and you will have a little bit of the seam allowance here. So then when you eat that seam allowance, you might have a little bit left there. You can top stitch that seam down, so it'll be like this. They'll be attached together, and then you can do like a little top stitch here. But I might just leave it. I might just top stitch this little bit that's left over, and that's it, and just leave it on. This right here, this gap, is up to you how much you have it. It depends on how far in you sewed your sleeve. If you sewed it really close and you just have a little bit of for the seam allowance, then they'll match up really close together. You won't have anything. The farther you sew it from that side seam, the more of this leeway you'll have here, and you can just top stitch it down, and it looks really cute. So I'm gonna sew those sides, and I did do a poll on my Instagram page, and most of my followers voted for me to do a dress with this. So I'm going to go finish it up. I'm gonna sew the tiers and make a dress. If you are wondering how to turn this pattern from a blouse to a dress, or how to sew this pattern all the way up, I do have a video on that. I made a video before this video, so if you want to go check it out and see how I turned this into a dress, well, not this particular one, but there's another one on there, and I'm gonna do the same to this one to turn it into a dress. Then go check that out, and then come back and finish the result, view the end result of this, and then let me know if you have any questions. All right, friends, we are finished with this beautiful dress. I'm super excited. I love how the sleeves turned out. I am inside today because it's pouring outside. We have a storm coming through. So I still wanted to show it to you as it looks on, but I didn't want to get soaked outside. So here I am. I hope you love this tutorial. Hope you enjoyed the Flutter sleeves. They are so cute. They're some of my favorite sleeves to do. I love them. If you are wondering about how to sew up the full dress, make sure you go watch the video where I sewed up the dress version of this pattern. It is a free top pattern, blouse pattern, but I turned it into a dress. I did the same thing with this one. I just shortened the tiers a little bit because I wanted it a little bit shorter than the last one, but everything else was the same. I hope you love these sleeves. Comment below and let me know. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel so you never miss any of my tutorials. And also come follow me on Instagram at IG Ezra to see all the behind the scenes sew. And that's where I do my polls to figure out what options to sew and stuff like that. So I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you next time. Bye.